Hello, Ellwood here, and welcome to Magical Experiments Podcast. Today, I thought I would discuss how to work with the spirits of the land that you live on. Whether you're renting land or you happen to be a homeowner, this is a really important topic. And it's one that I think it's one that's timely for me because it was 2 years ago to this day that I moved into the house that I live in now, which is the home that I bought. I remember that first night, I had gotten the keys to the house. I'd stopped by and gotten a picture with the realtor and all that, and it was like, wow, this is my home. I didn't sleep in the house that night, but what I did do is I bought I brought some boxes over of things, and I started to put my stuff into the space and started to connect with it. But one of the activities that I did that very first night is I walked around the land. I walked around the yard. I spent about a good half hour or so just connecting and communing with the spirits of this place, this house, and the land itself. It was really important for me to connect with it because I was entering into a relationship with this land. One that was going to one that ostensibly is going to last for a long, long time, if not for the rest of my life, certainly for a significant portion of it. And it was interesting because when I had found this place, I had taken a break from house hunting for a few weeks. Then I woke up one day and I was told that it was the right time to go house hunting, and so I got a hold of my realtor. I said, "Let's go out today," and she was free. And this was the first place that we came to, and I knew that it was it. We were present in it, and I said, "Let's go here. This is the space." And here we are now, and it is 2 years later, and I have definitely developed a relationship with this space as time has gone on. Now, I talk about this to some degree in my book, Walking with Nature Spirits, and I recommend picking it up if you get a chance. But really, when you come to a space that you're going to call home, whether it's a space that you're renting or a space that you're quote unquote buying, it's really important to make to establish a relationship with that space. Now, I will grant that it is in some ways harder to establish a relationship with the space that you're renting because if nothing else, there's a part of you that knows that you're not going to stay there forever, that at a certain point, you're going to move on from that space that you're renting. But I think that in general, even in that case, you still want to establish a relationship with the land. So one of the things that I recommend doing is that when you first get the opportunity to quote unquote move in, spend some time just soaking in the presence of the land and allowing the land to get used to you. If you have, granted, you're in the process of getting ready for a move, so I know how chaotic moves can be, but you want to give yourself the space to just be present with the land and be present with yourself. Give yourself the space to relax into being. Be here in this space, in this moment. Walk around the yard itself. This is a yard you're going to be getting used to. You may not be able to do a lot with that yard if you're renting. On the other hand, if you quote unquote own the space, you may be able to do a lot. But one thing that's really important to remember is that whether you're renting or owning, it's not just about the fact that you're not above the land. You are in coexistence with it. So it's good to establish a relationship with the spirits of the land. I remember for me, in my case, what I did is I walked over and I visited with each of the trees. I walked around the yard. I talked to the different plants, and I just said, hey, I'm moving here, and I want to have your permission to get to know the area, get to know you. And I felt the land welcome me and invite me to become part of it. And I knew that it was really essential for me to allow myself to be fully present in that space, allow myself to be fully present with the land. It was an opportunity to discover myself and discover who am I in relationship to the space that I'm existing in. I would invite you to do the same with your particular space. Who are you in relationship to the space that you're coexisting in? Who are you in relationship to the spirits of the land? And if you're moving in with other people, you may ask yourself, who am I in relationship to those people? And how do those people relate to the land? I think that's just as important a question as any of the others. Recognize that you're coming into contact with all the life on the land, the animals, the insects, the plants, everything. And that it's important to make space for those beings because they do exist there, and they call it home as well. They may not have gone and paid money to get a title for the land, and they may not pay rent or utilities, but they live there nonetheless. They are part of the land, part of the space that you are in. So you want to make space for that and give yourself a chance to be fully present with it. This means that you're going to be like, wow, here I am with this land, making space with it, becoming present with it, discovering it. The land is your your presence. It's your significance. It's saying to you, hey, you're here and I'm here. Let's develop a relationship. And really, you want to develop that relationship. The spirits of the land aren't going to necessarily talk to you or appear to you in the way you would expect. But if you look out for subtle signs, look at the way that the air touches the grass, or look for specific places that call to you in that space. For example, for me, the backyard called to me a lot, but so did the front yard. Like there were distinct relationships that were different in each space. One was a bit more private and secluded, the other one a bit more open. And one of the things the space told me is that it wanted me to make space for creating more privacy. And I didn't really know how I was going to do that, but I started to get to know the space. I started to discover a bit more about the land and what it could become, and who I could become with it. And that was really important for me. So it's significant that you're going to go into this space and you're going to discover a relationship with it, and a relationship with yourself as well, that's going to change because you're choosing to root yourself in that space. This is true whether you're renting or buying a home. It's different when you buy a home. There are subtle differences and distinctions because, in a very real sense, you're like, yeah, unless something dramatically changes, this is the space that I'm going to be living in for the foreseeable future. But all of it is about presence and place, and that's the space that you're going into. So if you want to know how to build a relationship, it's you take your time. I spent the first year not doing too much work with the land. I think I did a few things. I mowed the lawn which is kind of a typical thing to do. But I spent some time just identifying with different parts of the area of the space that I lived in, getting to know it. I spent a lot of time with the house, getting to know the house. That was really important too, because the house is a space within its own right, and a presence in its own right. And it's really like when you're building a relationship, you're building multiple relationships with multiple spirits. It's important to remember that. Keys to be patient. When I work on the land now, I'm working with Joanna, and when we're working on the land, it's it's interesting because we're both creating a relationship with the land, and we're listening to the land as much as we're speaking to the land, and we come to an understanding of the relationship and the space that we're in. But it's a give and a take. When we work with the land, we're communing with it, connecting with it, and it's speaking to us and through us, and it's sharing its own request, and we want to be open to that. It's so easy to kind of block that out and be like, well, I got my own ideas. I'm going to take control. But it's not about taking control. It's about being present with the space. So that's my thoughts on how to build a relationship with the land. I've been doing this now here in this particular space for the last 2 years, and I was reflecting, tonight on the fact that, like, wow, I've been living here for 2 years now. A lot has changed in the last 2 years. I went from living in this space alone to having a roommate to then having my romantic sweetie move in with me to having two kittens live with me, and all, and there's just that aspect, and then there's also the working with the land itself. Taking down the ivy from the fences, um, spreading compost and things along those lines. Developing a relationship with the spirits that are going to live here. All of this kind of created a specific space and a place for myself, and then sharing it with someone else, and getting to know that person in this space, and watching that person create their own relationship as well. So this is the experience of space and place, and how you build a relationship with spirits, the nature, and how you end up building a relationship as well with whoever else you're existing in that space in. So savor that, appreciate it, allow it to become a process that draws out who you are and what you are.